All right, guys. Tonight we're gonna do a podcast. It's been an interesting topic that's been on my mind quite a bit. I'm really worried about what's going on in Venezuela, and I want to see what Corey and Collin's take is on that. Get a man of God and a man of skepticism, and go after this whole concept of what's going on.
Collin's the man of God. I'm the skepticism. Just in
Well,
case people aren't sure. Right, Collin?
That's right. Oh, yep, that's me.
There you go. He's got the voice for it.
Mhm.
Father Collin. There you go. Collin had
Father
a Collin.
Klein.
So you were talking about the oil extraction yeah, Houston is it's like the only oil refinement plant that I'm aware of within distance to South America or any oil wells down there. So everything goes to Houston pretty much. A couple things about the oil in Venezuela, and I've just heard this forever since college that, yeah, they have a lot of it, but it's so dirty. They have to pump diesel into it to even get it to flow through pipelines. And then they have to extract the diesel on the other end. So they have to lubricate, like it's really dirty oil. It's not great. So that adds a lot of steps to the refinement process. And it's a major factor, but there's better options out there, especially on CODIS.
Yeah. And that's a hard extraction. You have to also look at, do you have people that can do that stuff, that have the ability? And if you kick everyone out of the country that has that ability, then where are you left? Are you able to do the production at the rate that you can do, or what's going to happen?
Well, but it's like normal socialism. It looks good on paper until when they nationalized the oil fields in Mexico and they nationalized the oil fields in Venezuela, it always falls apart. They can never keep the production levels up because the incentive goes away. The same thing's happening here with the socialism being introduced here. I mean, like we got a whole group of people that aren't willing to work and they're threatening to go riot because their EBT cards aren't getting turned on so they go buy food. And I hate socialism, but that's all off on the thing. It's just when Trump is saying that the reason we're going after Venezuela is drug smuggling in these boats, I think that is a fraction of what the real reason we're going after Venezuela is.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just keeps coming back to it has to be about the oil. And there's what's that other country to the southwest of there? They found even a oil field there that they're going after. So it just does this
right
whole
now,
notion. Go ahead. No,
No, it's right now the general strategy, as far as I can tell, and Trump's outlined this several times and several other people around him, and this is a strategy that we used to abide by. It was called the Monroe Doctrine.
Yes.
And while you can quibble about some aspects of the Monroe Doctrine, the general idea is the United States will be the sole superpower on the Western Hemisphere, and we will not allow Europe over here to run influence operations or any other power for that matter. So that has never been accomplished, and that was always the strategy of our adversaries or people trying to get a foothold over here in the Western Hemisphere. You just have to look at the guerrilla militia and our military units that sprang up in the Cold War that were funded by the Russians, Chinese. Well, really, I would expect the CIA had a lot to do with that too. If you go back to the JFK episode we did that. I did that presentation on that base out of Miami. Man, I forgot the name of it, what it was colloquially known as, but it was the largest. They ran the second largest, no, the third largest navy in the Caribbean was run out of that station, and the CIA has this. It's basically like if you could think of the global war on terror, it basically was Langley versus Tampa. You got CENTCOM versus Langley. That's where CENTCOM's based out of is Tampa. So you send in the guys in the black helicopters and Delta to go after a red team that is built up and instituted and shaped to do certain things for regime change on the political end by CIA, and they're literally probably tens of thousands of cutouts in subsidiaries and shell corporations that funnel money around in cooperation with criminal elements that they help run to set up all these terror networks that were and then you send our guys out to go and kill them off whenever they end their term of life usefulness ends. So Saddam
Yeah.
Hussein is a good example of that. He was a CIA asset, literally trained by the CIA, and he basically was set up as dictator, and he famously was like trying to get Bush to come out and interview him to debate him before there's like, why are you trying to invade? We think we have a lot to talk about, boss. What's going on? And it's a really sick game, and and that's really what I think Venezuela is become the Ukraine of the Western Hemisphere. Ukraine is like a money laundering operation with borders. It's where all the mafias, human trafficking, child trafficking, organ harvesting, medical experimentation, bioweapon development, anything dark and dirty you wanted to hide was in Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
Medvedev, the second to Putin, has talked about this. The state. I mean, the guys over in Russia have openly said this. Like, a big part of the reason we invaded is you guys have built a bunch of bioweapons labs right on our border. And bioweapons labs are, in case we haven't learned anything from COVID, are vectors.
Yep.
For biological attacks. They're basically buildings that are effectively bombs for leaks, to take place. And they were the Russian. I haven't seen evidence of this, but I know that they developed this. There is evidence that they developed these types of weapons, but they were developing race-specific bioweapons to target Slavs. Like, that
Yeah.
was a part
Okay. Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that too.
Okay.
Well, it's just
Go ahead. I was going on there for a minute. So.
it's just like I was reading this morning. There's Trinidad, the little country that's right off the shore of oh, and that's Guyana. Guyana is the name of the country that Venezuela's been pushing around and threatening because Guyana has a better, cleaner oil source. And right now, the United States is investing a lot of money in going down to Guyana and getting oil out of their ground and a lot of offshore oil wells. And Venezuela has been putting troops on the border, and they're doing that same thing like India and China are doing, where they're fighting over the line. You know what I'm talking about, Colin?
What line?
Well, India and China are always playing on their.
Oh, yeah, no, that region. Yeah, there's always skirmishes up in the mountains and stuff. Yeah,
So,
and I honestly, I don't go. It's nothing. I've never seen any serious activity up there. It seems to be.
well, China, they're doing the same
bloodlettings.
thing. Well, China's technically like building a road in India, and they're claiming it's in China. So you got all this road work going on, and India's like, "Hey, no, you're doing this, you're doing that." Well, they're doing the same crap over in between Guyana and Venezuela. Is they're saying that I think Maduro last year came out. That might be off. Came out and basically said, "Hey, this is really ours," and they're kind of moving troops in there and stuff. I mean, he is a tin pot dictator down there, and he's kind of screwing everything up. And he lost the election last year to that one lady that ran against him. It's a bad situation all the way around. And he's sending all his oil off to Iran. Iran's even sending tankers over there to pick up oil so they can refine it and get it on the black market. It's just, it's a mess. But I don't think, I really believe that this whole drug crap is just a cover, like the Gulf of Tonka, weapons of mass destruction. And I'm pro-Trump, but I'm not pro-war.
So let's look. I understand. No, go ahead, Corey. Do you have something?
So we have this huge buildup, continued buildup, aircraft carrier that's being sent down there. You also have
Sure.
threats of 25% tariffs, that went up in March, and then you also have Chevron, pulling Chevron's license to go down there and uh, pull oil out of their fields and all that kind of stuff. You have so many things that are happening, but it also messes with China, which is um, China is also pushing a lot of stuff into Venezuela and moving it up into Mexico, into the United States. And so they're finding more and more of that stuff happening. So there is that little justification, but yet is Venezuela the actual country that they really want to get their oil from, or are they trying to mess with Venezuela to mess with China, who is waging proxy war through into the United States as part
That's a
of
good point. That's a really good point I hadn't thought about. Yeah.
I've been encountering this new concept that, how we have our deep state. Every country has their own deep state. And then there's
Yes.
factions within said deep state. It's not just one monolithic structure. It's basically everything done in the background unofficially using official licensing maybe, but it's not overt for public consumption. Stuff that takes place in the background. So the whole thing with the three major powers on the planet have been Russia, China, and the United States for quite some time. It doesn't mean that Europe didn't have, but Europe's not consolidated. They didn't even consolidate their debt when they formed the euro, which basically set the euro up for failure from the beginning. Because now, and then they have all these rules for their banks that everyone's got to hold a certain amount of debt from this country or that country. France, you got to have some German marks. You got to have some French. You got to split it up a little bit. So it's an artificial economic system where no one country, because basically it would have come down to Hermit Cole, and he admitted that if he had put that up for a vote, that he would have lost by 70-1. Basically, that the German people would have never agreed to that. So he basically said he had to be a dictator and to bring Germany into the euro. Germany was the backbone, France the second largest. And then they had a coup against Margaret Thatcher because she knew what this was all about. And that's how she got ousted. Because she was like, no, remember that speech? No. It's a famous speech. She's like, never, or something. Like, I'll never do, it's never going to happen. You're not going to do this. So they got rid of her and put someone else in. Go ahead.
Huh?
What, you were saying something?
Me?
Yeah. No?
Oh,
Okay.
No.
Okay, I'll keep
for
going.
it.
So this parallels with Venezuela in the sense that they have their own factions.
Partially, but then it's also I'm actually talking more about China. There is so who set up China? Who set up Mao? There's famous stories of how
the English,
the British in cooperation. Well, the Western alliances basically did. The Western oligarchs financed them. We used our CIA to send or OSS or whatever it was at the time to send weapon shipments over, and we were on the surface along working with Chiang Kai-shek. But famously, one of our major arms shipments we sent over had no firing pins in it. And this is back when China was it was all peasants living in, they didn't have manufacturing. So, and that was kind of the struggle, was all these countries realized their innate power. And so they were like, okay, we need mass collectivization and mobilization to industrialize to catch up to the Western devils, or else they're going to swallow us up. That's a part of the reason why communism took off so quickly over there. It was a fast and dirty way to get industrialized quickly, because you can't. The way we did it was fairly organic, but it took a long time, and they didn't have that kind of time. So it's like, all right, time for the iron boot, and we got to do it. So there was a certain pragmatism to the socialism, as dysfunctional as it is and was. It still consolidated their nation states effectively. That's what happened, and it's not like, I'm not saying that was a good or bad thing. I'm saying, but if they wanted to survive as entities, they would have had to do something drastic like that. Now, were there other models they could have ran with? Maybe. But if they went with pure open democracies in the beginning, the Western influence operations, would have taken it all over anyway. They were open on. That's really what democracy does. Open your country up so we can come in and bribe your politicians and do whatever we need to do to control your countries.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So to cordon that off, they had a philosophy at their disposal that was brutal and economically driven, theoretically. There's a certain pragmatism to communism, and that's a very unpopular opinion. That's an unpopular opinion, but depending on where you're at in the world, or dictatorship, I should say, there's a pragmatism to pure total dictatorships.
Yeah, you can get stuff done faster
from a nation state perspective. Yeah. Like it just is. It is what it is. I am not convinced that China is ready to, just like this whole notion of how Russia is going to invade Europe. They've been saying that since for hundreds and hundreds of years. I ask anyone to go back in the history book and find me one example of the Russian people or the Slavic empire, whenever they consolidated and got to a size big enough they could field armies, that they were ever interested in invading Europe.
No, they've
Why
been
would they
interested
invade
mostly
Europe?
they've mostly been interested in invading Asia. They've never really been into Europe.
Well, kind of, but it's
We
like
had the Russian-Japanese War.
So that was more about Crimea.
Crimea?
You got to remember, Russia is Asia.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is like they needed to consolidate like certain oil. Really, it's about a part of it was the oil fields, and a part of it was access to trade routes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really like trade logistics is really everything for a nation state. You need to have your arteries open. And if you don't, you have to make deals with other countries, and which means you're a protectorate, or you're a subservient to that said nation state, unless you have some comparative advantage that gives you leverage. But when somebody has access to a pipeline and they can turn on and off on their end and it won't affect them, they own you. So, and a part of this is about that. And yeah, the Chinese have absolutely been running operations down here, but there's a notion called the Devil's Legions.
Okay, what's that?
All these assets and deep staters that have been planted. And if you look and I've been meaning to do an episode on this. I'm not prepared yet on Operation Gladio. And effectively, Operation Gladio was a bunch of stay-behind networks that were utilized a lot of the Nazi connections in Europe and in Eastern Europe post-World War II, that were basically stay-behind networks set up to work behind the Iron Curtain once the Soviets took over. And if you go back in that history, there were hundreds of, and this even predates World War II. It's like there were so many terrorist actions of things just blowing up. People were blaming, it's the Russian government or this guy or that guy. It was just like no one could really pin down who was doing all this, because the newspapers are all pretty much bought in the West. So the West, the intelligence agencies, like this book right here, it outlines how the Times of London, the Times as it's well known today, is a subsidiary of the roundtable groups of the British Empire. It literally was started by them. And and if you look at the Economist is out of that milieu. Obviously the Times still exists today, but its roots are in the British oligarchy, or the British managerial class, I should say, of the British Empire. And how does that little island control the world? Like, how did they become an empire? Part of it was Navy, but the bigger part was subversion and infiltration. And they were just absolutely the best at cryptography, at running low key operations. And they're still, in many ways, you could say, the best. Like, they look at our intelligence services as like kind of we're a bunch of schoolboys that need to be learned up. The Good Shepherd is a great movie to get, like, it's actually very accurate at the formation of the Good Shepherd.
Good Shepherd. It has what's his name? Matt Damon, and he's a spy. It's before the CIA when it was OSS.
It's based on the formation of the CIA. It talks about
Skull
that
and Bones and all that other stuff.
How they initiated and recruited through the universities and all that stuff. And World War
fraternities and the what is it? What is that order of the fraternities? All that crap. Yeah.
I mean, the Skull and Bones Society, Secret Society. I mean, anyway, it just shows you how they set up and what fraternities and secret societies are. It's the same notion as a round table group. You got your inner circle and then your outers and outers and outers, and you got your feeder groups off in the periphery, and you get to select and choose ideal candidates and plug them in wherever you need them. In diplomatic roles and accounting, military, legal. And you get the pick of the litter from the Western world. And that's really how that's why you see these people that are high class in America, these elites. One, they're really cozy with Europeans. Like, they kind of act like we're subservient to Europe because it's kind of how they've been raised in this. And it's very strange. Like, they always, like, defer to Europe. Like, they're very impressed by the culture of Europe, and they look down at the culture of America.
Well, they've always liked the aristocracy and all that crap. It impresses them some way. I've never understood why. The thing I can't ever figure out is when it comes to aristocracy, it's like, what the hell does the King of England actually do? Why do they have a King of England? He does. So, I mean, not that that's the topic, but it's like we have an aristocracy in England. Why? And they have like this huge wedding party. Who gives a crap? We fought a war to get away from that crap. So I've never understood their obsession with them.
I would push back on that. I don't think we fought a war to get away from the monarchy.
Okay.
I think we fought a war to get away from Parliament.
Yeah, that was the whole taxation without representation.
If you go back in the history, they were pleading with the king as if King George was like really the only person they could talk to. And that's the upside of having a king, as we're all realizing now. This no kings thing is literally from, I've been talking about the British and the Dutch.
Wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't mention the Dutch.
Well, when they hijacked England, and they basically plugged in their own people, the Duke of Orange from the Netherlands, to enter into and Mary Stuart, who was a part of the royal family to some degree, because the royal family, it's many branches, it's not just one, and even that is like it's if you go and try to figure out how all that works, it's a mess. But the thing about a monarchy is that a monarch is accountable to its people.
Yes. Okay.
If they start trying to be some global emperor, they tend to have a shortened lifespan, as history has shown us. But if you be a good king, you take care of your country, because if you don't, they'll kill you.
Ask the French. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a way to cut through judicial tyrannies, legislative tyrannies, bureaucratic tyrannies that you can't pinpoint exactly one person. It's more of a mindset and way of thinking that now we've diffused responsibility from the principal, the executive, down to all these courts and legislative bodies. And I'm not saying there isn't a place for that, but I'm just saying this is what happens. Republics always end this way.
the thing I find interesting is the power that Trump is fighting for right now is a power that the president's always had. They just never they've been delegating all this power farther and farther away from the federal government and giving it to the
Yeah.
courts and all this other stuff. And now he's actually doing what's it's laid out in the Constitution, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And the Supreme Court's like, actually, he can't. So it's
Yeah, but they have all these activist judges in place all over the country, and they just get them to pop up and say, no, I file, and they just slow it down. To delay is to deny. And that's their strategy right now. And they're trying to kind of almost bait him in to being a tyrant. And then you see these no king route, like, no kings, no kings. It's like, okay, who's coming up with your talking points, people? It's like all of a sudden now we're talking about no kings. Now they're calling anti-authoritarians. We're not anti-fascist anymore because that's now associated with Antifa, and they've like, oh, and they're still trying to say that doesn't exist.
Antifa,
And
yeah, Antifa.
yeah,
Even though all the people that were part of Antifa, the supposedly it has no leader, and all these people are running off to Europe. Yeah, it's been
yeah,
interesting.
and it literally comes out of Europe too, but Germany specifically. But the way that they can manipulate Democrat or lefty talking points, I mean, they can kind of do that with the right wing. Nothing like they do with the left. They snap their fingers and say a phrase half a
The
dozen times in a week. Everyone's on their side is saying it all of a sudden. Just they're like literal mockingbirds, just repeating what they hear.
Yeah.
It is kind of impressive how you have people that are being interviewed. I went down to the No Kings riot down here, protest, not riot, but protest down here. That's like less than a half mile from my house. So I'm almost in downtown Las Cruces. And I go walking down there and I'm just asking, so what's your problem? What is the problem? What is your problem? What do you not like about this? And they don't have any answers. He's just a fascist. We just hate him. It's just like there is no answer to what they're doing. It's just they just out there and they're just like seals clapping for their fish. They just got no.
So this ties into the devil's legions of what I'm trying to describe, but this is kind of an example we can get our hands around because this is happening right now in our own backyards. I've been able to get on these Zoom calls with a lot of these movements. So the Sunrise Movement, the Act 3 movement. There's dozens of these things, and they have conference calls all from people all over the country, all over the world, really. And it's all community organizers, and they all are trained in, it's not about, they never talk about like what they want and what the goal is. All they want, like the goal is the revolution. That's all they're about, is just the revolution. And just, it's resentment being played out in force and being and a bunch of low IQ stupid people, and they are very dumb, but don't underestimate dumb people, because I mean they're really good soldiers. If you can get them bought into your con job of like, I'm of authority and you're working for this cause, or you're going to go down in history or whatever, to people that are nobodies, like these shooters types. Why a part of the reason they get so attracted with the fantasy of going and shooting like a high profile person, or even a bunch of kids, they just are like, I was gonna die a nobody, now I'll let the whole world know just how meaningless it all is and how useless they are and how little I care, and how literally zero much I care about this facade everyone is trying to keep up and pretend. And it's incredibly dark, but they're out there, they're very real.
Yeah. And pawns is what you're talking about. Uh, the great thing about them is, you have a bunch of them and they do the work that they do. The flip side is they're expendable.
Oh yeah.
And the other side is the pawn still can take out the king and queen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
but
and
look at
that's the fear.
But look at
The
how
devil's legions. Yep.
fascism was started by Mussolini. Okay, he's
Kind
the
of.
one that came.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one that came
Yes,
up
you're
with
right. Yes.
he was the one that came up with the idea of fascism. The Nazis weren't fascists; they were national socialists. So, which they're very closely tied. But Mussolini came up with the fascist concept,
It,
and he had street soldiers. And
every power guy in power has street soldiers.
yeah,
You need them.
and they did it with the brown shirts, and it's like the communists and the what is it, the
Trump has street
communist.
soldiers, you know?
Oh yeah, he does. So yeah, it's just
Wasn't communism built by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels?
the book was written by Karl Marx, but it was never implemented. It was really
It was a theory
it was a theory.
that they
It,
and
to
then
me, go ahead. Sorry.
and then it was played out
By
by all.
what's that Russian dude?
It's played out in it's on purpose nebulous in execution. Really, if you read his dissertation on capitalism or Das Kapital or whatever, it's and that's really like the Bible as far as I mean, there's the Communist Manifesto too. Obviously, that's really the Bible, but it's really predicated on observations that are mostly correct. They're correct when it comes to crony capitalism or state-run capitalism, that it's basically giant mega players using their nation states as means to leverage debt for their own purposes to basically run the world. It's pretty good analysis to me. The problem is, as soon as they start coming up with solutions, all hell breaks loose, because these people are resentfuls. They're not. That's really what I don't call them communists. I call them resentfuls. They're not capable of using their imagination to build anything. Things have always happened to them. They're never there to take free agency back for themselves.
Yeah, the victim class taking over, basically.
The victim, estrogenic class, woe is me class. Yeah. And people think like, well, there can't be that many of them. Oh, yes, there are.
There's a bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's people constantly underestimate that of how many there are. And it's like literally fighting zombies. They just keep coming. But going back to the Devil's Legions, that when you're thinking about the criminal classes or cartels, that also is incorporated into the Devil's Legions. And,
okay.
And I'm using Devil's Legions as a term of art I've lifted from E.M. Burlingame, but I love his description. It's perfect because it encompasses so many different groups that don't really know exactly who they work for or who their bosses work for. And sometimes their bosses don't even know who they work for. They've just, have old deals that are set up since the Cold War that have trade routes set up, that just understandings with the Coast Guard, with these guys. Like, if we wanted to lock down North America and we had absolute control over our military and security forces, we could in a heartbeat. Any criminal element that exists has been allowed to exist.
Mafia. Yeah.
And they set up an Underworld. Yeah, it's Operation Underworld. You can look it up. That's when the CIA or OSS, or it might have been the War Department, teamed up with the what we call Cosa Nostra, and they prepped the invasion for Sicily, using them as their front group. And then obviously they got accommodations back here in America for helping us out with that. That's why the Sicilian Mafia was so powerful for so long. They were government backed. I mean, if they wanted to kill those guys and get rid of them, it's not hard, especially today. Now it's a click of a button, dead. Like, you're dead, delete. So I would suggest that is potentially what is happening, because Venezuela has become the money laundering operation for the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, the Chinese are playing in there, the Russians are playing in there, the Europeans everyone's playing, all the Devil's Legions are in there. And it's kind of been allowed to become this mob state, but it's also, if you look at a map, it's got excellent access to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's got the
Venezuela?
largest.
Yeah.
It's got the largest outside of Mexico. It's the largest shoreline. I mean, it's the largest shoreline in South America to the Caribbean by far. They're inside the island chain. Here, I'm gonna pull this up here.
Bring the map up.
Gotta bring the map up. There we
The
go.
map.
I like it when Collin's really on fire because the visuals are awesome.
Yeah, we need pictures. Is
I
this
like
working?
pictures. Pictures are good.
And so the one that's behind this whole thing is the Dutch pulling the strings of the British.
Kind of, it's more of the Dutch were used as a vector to invade and take over England and then kick off the British Empire. So this thing that we're talking about isn't one nation. It's, you got to stop thinking of it in terms of nation states. I mean, the globalists call themselves globalists for a reason. They don't view themselves as tied. Like, they are vehemently against this notion of, like, they're citizens of the world, you know? They're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they've popularized that down into college. Like, we don't in college, we're not taught, oh, you're Americans and you're no, you're citizens of the world. You're a multiculturalist. We're here to understand and learn about what other, you know, cultures have to teach us. Anyway, so I mean, the Caribbean is
shoreline.
always, I mean, it's the whole thing, and it's the entry from Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is I was reading this week, Trinidad actually had a U.S. military base on it for a long time. And they just deployed the Marines to do a joint exercise with Trinidad and the United States Marine Corps, which conveniently puts the Marines only 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela.
Yeah. No, and there's obviously they're flexing to try to, like, because there's some back channels going on that I've some people have been spilling the beans on that. I mean, obviously they want to give, there's a country that they're allowing Maduro to run off to. I don't know the name of it, but basically take his family and his money and go live in a resort till the end of his days. And the question is he going to take the deal? If he doesn't, and they invade and they miscalculate and the population isn't on board with this, then they've got a real problem. And
well, that's the problem I have.
That's the question in the air right now. So I agree with you. So
that's the problem I always have. And the reason I am so against this is we always do this nation building shit for oil. And we go in there and we put our riches and our lives on the line for what? You know,
the only difference with this is this isn't directly about oil. Venezuela is the railhead for all of the foreign infiltration operations taking place in America. Maybe not all of them, but it's a staging area for like 80% of it. It literally is an enemy combatant, as close to one as we've ever had. It's a couple thousand miles south of us.
Well, the sad thing is they weren't always, they were really close with us. Really close with us.
Yeah, because the CIA had its hooks in it and was actually trying to do its job. Some factions were back in the day. We could control all of this, but the problem is we've been playing this red team, blue team game of getting the ants fighting each other, and we haven't been playing for the Monroe Doctrine for the last 100 years. We've been playing for globalism.
Yeah.
That's a different game. That is a very different game. And that is a game more based on you have to get populations bought into a singular religion. This secularist, LGBT, all this effeminate, love and tolerate everything and have no boundaries crap is perfect for a predator because, one, takes down all our defenses, and two, it elevates the most useless, stupid people and emotionalist people that can be manipulated like just puppets easily. I mean, I'm glad that we have a somewhat decent immune system in America compared to Europe. You call someone a racist in like Ireland, Like Ireland, you think the Irish are, hey, you'll call me, they're like tough guys, right? No, they cave. They can't handle it. And we couldn't either, but we're kind of getting past that point. In fact,
because
I would say we're past it. Like
the problem is this the classic story of the boy who cried wolf. If everyone's racist, no one can be racist.
I know, but Europeans have been, you got to go, you don't know this unless you go to Europe and talk to people directly. They are whacked out of their mind. They have no real, they live day to day. They don't know, they have zero national or larger understanding of history. They're totally, they're smart. Exactly. They're kind of like Californians, but a little less annoying. Depends where you go. The French are horrible.
The thing that really sucked about living in California is the world revolves around California. And the same thing goes for the United States. You don't realize how much the United States is wrapped up in itself until you go to like Canada and you're like watching the news and all of Canadian news is talking about the United States.
Well, there's also reasons for that, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah. What do you say?
One, it does matter to them. I mean, they're a protectorate of ours, technically. I mean, how many people live in Canada?
Not a lot, but
not like 50 million ish, something like that. Yes. Maybe, I'm sure it's less than that.
So pre-Trump, for his first presidency, I was up in Canada with a couple of friends, and we were doing some stuff in
41.29 million.
And they were really interested in Trump not winning because of what media was telling them about what Trump was and how bad he would be for their economy and for American economy. And it was interesting to listen to these young people, between 18 and 25, and how they were all against Trump and that kind of stuff. I think they were right, because Trump is making them hurt.
Well, he just shut down all trade negotiations with them again, and
and they should be afraid.
Yeah. So Canada is a part of the British Commonwealth to this day. Okay.
Yeah, they have the Queen's face all over the money. Yeah.
If you become a barrister, you swear your allegiance to the crown. You swear, they just culturally, they know it's not popular to be under a king because their whole thing is bureaucracy will save us, right?
Yeah.
But they use the legitimacy. They basically skin the face off the Queen and put a face mask on and kind of use it where it's appropriate. But culturally moving people into this secularist technocracy, basically, of where, you have the managerial elite pulling the knobs and levers and adjusting everything. Like McNamara in the Vietnam War is a perfect example of, if you want to know what a technocrat looks like, is just study McNamara for like a couple hours. You'll get it. Like it's that kind of mentality. They've always been a problem. This also, I'm going to share this again because this kind of, I know that we were talking about our Venezuela, but this goes into, it all ties together, obviously. So how did we get Alaska? Anyone remember?
Well, we bought it from Russia, but we were giving Russia money to fight Napoleon. So they owed us a whole bunch of cash. So instead of giving them
$20 million or something,
I don't know. It wasn't a lot. Well, it was a lot for that time.
It was even for that time. Look at that. I mean, bro, come on. And your footprint into the Western Hemisphere. Why would the czars give that up? I suspect a part of their calculus was this. Who's their eternal enemy? Who's Russia's eternal enemy?
The Japanese.
Yeah. Well, not really. I mean, the Japanese have made a run at them. Like once they started getting developed.
They're still at war with them, technically.
I know, but I'm talking about like ancient enemies.
Okay.
Like the Japanese and the Russians have always had beef. Yeah, sure. Everyone had beef with
Well, the
Japan because
Mongols.
Japan had a chance. They were trying to pull a Great Britain. They were going to be an island nation with a moat and then run and control trade routes around, have the Greater East India, Greater East Asian prosperity sphere. That's what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to set up their own economic bloc. And so that's really why they went to war with the Russians. The Chinese didn't really exist. It was carved up by a bunch of warlords, and then you had Chiang Kai-shek operating from the south. And then they all retreated down here. Oh no, sorry, over here. That's where the nationalists ran off to once the communists took over the mainland.
Holy
and the people
crap!
that run that.
$7 million is what we bought
Okay, yeah, I always overestimate because I can't believe it every time I hear it.
7.2 million. They bought it for less than a penny an acre.
So this is like, this city right here, Chongqing, or I think it's Chongqing. This city alone has 30 million people living in it. 30 million. Like, they
have more people in that city than Canada has in the whole Commonwealth.
They have more people in that city than everyone in Australia. And so that is a major asset, but it's also a major liability. And a big part of it was China was so focused on agriculture, and they had the ability to build up population size quickly using the peasant class to, just build out their agriculture.
You nailed that, didn't you? 27.2 million people live in, and they have 30 million people live in one city?
Yep.
Wow.
I think it's 32, but yeah.
So who was Russia's?
Well,
so they're mortal. So their enemy.
Mortal enemies.
So what happened in, I think it was 1200? No, 10 something. I don't know. The Great Schism between the Orthodox churches, between the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church.
Mm-hmm.
That is a war that we're still seeing. That's to me, one of the larger wars that's being played out. Is this place,
Rome,
still trying to play their old games of trying to consolidate the world. It's just that the Roman Empire became a church.
Well,
now,
yeah, so it still exists then. Yeah.
It still exists. And if you look into the Vatican Bank and the assets that it holds and its political grip, like, I mean, the current Pope is actively saying, if you don't agree with the death penalty, that you can't be pro-life and agree with the death penalty. And he's basically saying, like, he's doing the same thing that Francis did. He's running this secularist, religious, relativist religion that everything is permitted, it depends, and we all need to be in a state of forgiveness and grace, basically. He's become a Protestant. Like what you see a lot of Protestant churches become. And the Orthodox are like, this is like a contagion that has spread all over Europe. There's a reason the Eastern European folks are different than these guys over here. And Poland and Ukraine are right in the middle of it.
It'd be more of a libertarian Protestant realm of the churches, yeah.
Yeah, it's really Satan. It's like, do it with that will. It's like Crowleyism, like on steroids, like it's everywhere. It's crazy. But so they're trying to push that back, because once you bring that into a society and you demoralize the population from its national identity, now it's all about access to economic advantage. Crossing borders. Oh, you want a better job? Get educated. Once you get certified under our system, hey, we got a job for you over here in Berlin. I was talking about the roundtable groups. Using all these metrics and AI, we can select candidates from all over the world and place them just almost automatically to a place that they want to be, or, to hit an economic bracket that they want. And that's really what drives population movement, is job demand. And since it's easy to get a plane flight anywhere, you can select the cream of the crop and get but the thing is, this doesn't select for competency. It selects for people who submit, who aren't going to rattle the boat or rock the boat, that let, the corporation, don't want to break the culture of the corporation or whatever, people that'll play ball, won't cause any problems, keep your head down, and don't try to come after my job. Enter the Indians. Like, that's a big, and I don't have a problem with Indians. Like, this has nothing to do with race. This has really got more to do with culture. But Indians are a part of the British economic sphere historically. Like, they're literally were a part of the British Empire.
Yep,
and so they were allowed to leave. They're westernized enough, they know English, or a lot of them do. And if you take them from their country and you throw them in the middle of like Dallas, Texas, they're not gonna say shit. They're not gonna talk about, oh, my rights, or my, or this is wrong, or it's like, yes sir, right away. They'll follow orders,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
they'll work for half the pay at managerial level jobs, because they are educated. They've been educated. They've been in the education, silo for about 100+ years now. By now, so they've been conditioned into the Western system, but they're willing to accept a lower economic status, have like all their family members live in one house, and just buy up assets on the cheap, and just play the long game. And I don't blame them. Like, it's not, I'm just saying it's what it is. But they're not here to further American culture or our history or protect it, or, that they're like, what are you talking about? And it's not their fault. It takes like probably 3 generations of migrants, no matter where you come from, to begin to appreciate American culture. Most Americans don't even know what American culture really is.
Even understand American culture.
No, yeah, because they all live in cities. It's a totally different world. Like, you kind of have to go out in the West. You have to, be out in the what's left of it. You work a ranch, go work, build stuff, like, see what it kind of took. Like, that's really what America is about, is those individuals that went out into a vast wilderness and built civilization out of nothing. And that's our culture.
Because that's their new empire. They could build with their hands whatever they wanted. As long as they didn't get killed off or starved off or frozen off. And a lot of people didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a harsh reality, but they went for it anyways, because they didn't have any other choices. So it's kind of like people from Austin, from all the major cities, Houston, stuff like that, leaving and going to the plains and the mountains and stuff, trying to secure their own wealth again. Like in America back in the 1800s, 1700s, and a lot of them would just die off.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be able to fathom how to do this whole thing. So my grandfather, or is it 2 generations back from my grandfather, relative came over to the United States. He passed a lot of great country, as an immigrant from Germany to Russia, and he went all the way to the Dakota territories, which, if you know anything about North Dakota, it is not the cream of the crop, right? But he worked for a rancher.
But don't worry.
And this is a story.
You know what they say?
He worked for a rancher for over a year, married the rancher's wife, and then homesteaded off of that. He had to learn the culture of how to live on that land, because it's not like Germany or Russia. It is different.
It took a lot of self-actualization. What were you saying, Cody?
Oh, it's just a dumb joke. Go for it.
So Venezuela, what I'm basically saying is, I think what Venezuela really has become is a clearinghouse for the black market activities in the Western Hemisphere, from everything coming from the Eastern world. It's got pretty big ports that can handle large shipments. It's got a narco government that's totally bought off and corrupt, but really it's the access to the ports that's the big thing. And that's really what this invasion's about. I've been told, I don't know how real this is, but it's not an occupying force that we're deploying. It's a lot of black helicopters and a lot of scary guys that make people go bye-bye in the dark, a lot of stuff
No,
like
no,
that.
no. There's a lot. So what
No,
did you
there
say then?
is no, I'm saying like there's a lot of special forces guys going in, and like the ground, like they got a huge Marine contingent, and they got Navy for airstrikes and all that stuff for backup, but
Big
they
time.
don't have enough people to occupy and
They're
actually
not
take
going
over
to
Venezuela
occupy it.
proper. No, they're not going to do that. I mean, if they did that, I'd be like, okay, I need to reevaluate their entire thinking process, because there is literally, I mean, politically even, he ran on the idea that we're not going to get bogged down into like regime change wars. Like that's like what he ran on. If he did,
Middle East.
if he got bogged down into this, it's over. It's absolutely over. So that cannot happen.
Yeah.
For just pure politics, that can't happen.
Yeah. Right now, they're just destroying a bunch of productivity places and ports, all kinds of stuff.
This is a central node for the Devil's Legions that are running Operation Gladio 2.0 American Division. The stay behind networks in World War II, that's a classic maneuver, but a lot of this black money, these groups that I go and talk to, they're funded by maybe 10-20,000 bucks that they give to the guys that run it. They're activists, but then they go out and they force multiply, and they have hundreds, if not thousands of people like in their chat rooms based on just ideology or whatever, or access to university systems and professors. It's a lot of professors running this. And it's like, this is a long-term kind of revolution fantasy that they've had since their parents kind of talk to them about. I mean, those, that concept of red diaper baby, right? Like kids that are grown in a communist household that are like, our generation won't see it, but we're raising you to be the generation of the revolution, right? There's a lot of that going on, and it's very subtle. And I think a lot of it is really just, in communism, in the communist nations, if you are an intellectual or you know too much, you're looked on as with suspicion. There's a natural in their culture, they grow suspect of anyone that uses big words, because they're like, well, that's what we do to manipulate our useful idiots. So what are you trying to do to me? So it's like, the idea is keep everyone at baseline, equality, you're not allowed to be smarter than this to a certain degree. And if you start thinking too far ahead, like consequences, it's like, are you trying to demoralize us? Are you an operative? And then you're like basically kicked out. Like if you start talking sense to these people, they grow suspicious. Like, because and they're totally ignorant. They don't know anything. They've read their Communist Manifesto, maybe, and even that was probably on audiobook, and that's about it. They don't know anything.
So one of the ways that they can re-subvert is through the colleges, universities, the professors, change them up and place them with the ideology that Western America wants. Is one way to do it, because then you change the programming of the students.
Who's that? Which they are you talking about? What faction? Or you talking about the communists?
No, I'm talking about if America.
Oh,
the more of the.
Well, you see,
the mega,
Trump
whatever.
and those guys talking about that. Literally the first thing they went after was Harvard. And like guys like Bannon have been saying, you need to go after the faculty lounge and cut off all funding until they fire everybody and just start fresh. And because he understands the critical path of how this is all started. That is really the railhead, is the university system. Absolutely. So,
yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about for Venezuela. Run people down there that are able to, if you want to utilize the same words, useful idiots, just change their programming.
They're still useful idiots.
If you open them up to like if they're allowed to actually have real food again, then you could politically buy off that country. And the reason they're starving is because we're starving them, because they're a narco state.
Yeah.
And they're running operations out of there. So it's, and I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm saying that's war, and that's just what it is. But
Yeah.
I mean, they made a run at it. Like there was that half-assed, you remember that assassination attempt back in the first term of Trump that Pompeo ran, and the guys got caught and they had like a minigun and like all this crazy crap with them. It was like, what the hell Call of Duty bullshit assassination attempt was this? It was like they're
Wasn't
all
that
like
run out of Miami or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like these CIA guys that try to run these ops are the most. That's what it looked like to me. Was like this is like some mercenary cutout that the CIA was running. Well, they were. Pompeo literally was blamed for it, and he never refuted it. And it was pretty well known that that was an operation he ran. I think that was. I don't think Trump knew about it, to be honest. But they were going to try to go in and just kill him, I guess, was the idea. And there was an election going on right around then of a Venezuelan nationalist that was a Westerner. I mean, this has been going on forever. Like, you know, this stuff happened all throughout the Cold War. You got the Western, you know, candidate and you got the communist candidate, and there's usually bloodshed going on between. I mean, it's been going on forever. So they know the deal. If they want to keep partnering, but the key is to get the Chinese out of the Western hemisphere so they don't have an alternative option. And that's where Panama comes in. And Panama, as far as I can tell, they're still building that road through the Darien Gap. They're building the bridge right now.
Really? I thought that they'd stop that.
Somebody just went down there and took footage of it and like was like, hey, they're building the freaking bridge. And once that bridge is built and that road's built, I mean, it's not even the Darien Gap that's the biggest problem. It's the two ports on either side of Panama. Those are that's the real gem there. The Darien Gap we could cut that off if we wanted to pretty quickly, if we had to. I mean, we can blow a bridge up pretty easily. That's not hard.
But the problem with the Darien Gap is it's not just a bridge.
Well, no, but that one bridge is necessary to get vehicles across the Darien Gap. You can't get vehicles through there right now. It's all foot. It's all on foot. It's 20 miles of jungle on foot.
Yeah, but I couldn't understand why we couldn't drive down there. You know, we built all these roads. You even have a road goes.
We didn't want to. Why would you want to open that portal up?
No,
we didn't want a road down there. We got ships. We got good, clean cargo ships with ports with security that we can manage. We can't manage like a road system like that.
I was reading that it's basically like the landslides and the mud and all the rain and the rainforest down there and it's just like one of the more difficult places to build.
We would have to have trade deals with Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama just to get into the United States through there. So for trade route purposes, for us, it's stupid. We just ship it around and avoid all those tolls along the way or political problems and all that money. And that would be a lot of money. So it's not that we can't physically do it. It's that geopolitically, it's a bad idea. Strategically, it's a bad idea. And really the only purpose for it now is to get human beings up and down from the south to the north. Like I was helping do some work with some work. I don't know what I really did, but you know, hung out with some refugees that were coming here, and our church was helping them out. And I would go and meet with them at the place they lived and hang out with them and like kind of show them how to get a job. You know, just stuff like just kind of help them find their feet a little bit and
integrate.
Yeah, and it's impossible. I mean, I was dealing with guys that were like supposedly like they were college educated, and he was like a doctor in Ethiopia or Eritrea. And I could not get him to understand schedules or anything. Like and he tried to understand his best, but it's literally like, it's not it's just cultural. They just can't understand it. I mean, they can, but it's like they almost have to make the mistakes themselves. It appears like, I don't know, but it's it, bringing those people into a complex society like that we have is cruel. Like they have no idea. I wouldn't know. I lived in other countries, and unless I had American dollars, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
But they all came up through the Darien Gap because it's an extra $10,000 if you want to go by boat, and it's extra dangerous because you might get intercepted. But the Darien Gap was a sure way to get, like, you were definitely going to get into El Norte through that place. That's why that gap is so important. It's more of a migration trail.
So according to this, the United States started building a road through the Darien Gap in 1974. It was blocked by the U.S. Department of Agriculture in 1978 after more than 2/3 of the road was completed because of environmental concerns.
Really, what I think
Because
what
of
happened
the,
is
they were afraid that
overestimated our
beef.
ability to control the Western Hemisphere.
Well, they're
Mm.
saying right now it's that the Department of Agriculture stopped it because they didn't want hoof and foot and mouth disease from the cows to cross, and they were afraid
Wasting.
of the cattle.
Wasting to disease.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
definitely know that they care so much about our health. I'm sure that's what it was about.
Yeah, they didn't want so they stopped this construction because of cattle. My ass. I think that was a good cover story.
Yeah, you
because
build the road and just say no more cows until the hoof thing's taken care of. It's obviously a cover.
Yeah, tropical
And
diseases.
Politicians at the best.
Well, no, I agree with this. We should not have a road constructed through Mexico all the way to South America with a primary artery leading up to the United States. That is, I mean, have you guys been down there? I mean,
No.
it's nice, like it's nice to visit, but if you try to live there, it is crazy. Like it's literal Mad Max in a lot of places.
Welcome to Thunderdome.
You're just inviting that up. No way. I mean, there's places in Austin I've taken people, and it's literal, like it looks like Mogadishu. It's crazy. What, like, there's guys with guns hanging out, like Overwatch, like little children being pimped on the street, like, and cops just sit around because they can't do anything because they'll, like, all hell will break loose if they step on the wrong toes, or they just scatter. And there's not enough resources it's just managing chaos as best you can. And it's absolutely insane. And that's like 15 miles from me, and that's everywhere, all over this country. There's little ghettos like that people don't even know about, and it's going to become more and more like that.
I
And
remember when we would
what
go
this whole
from
Trump thing's about mostly is
there was
migration.
there was places like that in California you'd go into, like there was what is it? I can't remember the name, but you go to US California 41 and you start going towards Lemoore Naval Air Base and stuff out in there, and you come into this town and you look at the way that the whole entire city is. It is basically Mexico, a little city of Mexico built in California.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. We have places like that here in New Mexico that are just like, there's like a little enclave just outside of what is it? What's that? Between Hatch, like there's some like a little enclave out. What is it? There's a cow a dairy out there that has like 150 Mexicans living on it, or Latin Americans living on it, and it is a slum. Like,
I need to correct something. I looked at a map here. I meant to say that was the Russo-Japanese War was about Manchuria, not Crimea. I got that mixed up.
Yeah, it was like Crimea.
Yeah, no, that's in the Black Sea. My bad. Yeah. But anyway, I went on a long rant there, but that Venezuela, there's many reasons to get a regime change or get them to play ball. And I mean, at this point, Maduro is so compromised. He does, for our security, I agree that the right move is to get him out. It doesn't mean we have to kill him, Because if you do that, that might lead to a bunch of other problems.
Well,
So if you do that, you better make sure that his second in command and his security force is ready to fill in the vacuum, and they're on your side to a point.
It's just so many times we've gone into these little countries and done regime change, and we don't let the people. The people want it, I guess. I mean, a lot of Venezuelans up here, but
To be honest with you, I think the people don't care as long as their lives get better. If they tangibly get better economically, they won't. They will not care.
yeah, well, that's true.
Because the same thing with me. If my life gets better, right, my family's life gets better, I don't care. That's who is important to me, my family.
We're not dealing with ancient bloodlines and feuds like in the Middle East. That is like a whole Hydra's nest of insanity that we still do not understand at all exactly how those dynamics
they don't totally
work.
understand.
And in the Western Hemisphere, we're dealing with basically Catholics, like
Yeah,
cultural Catholics. We can understand that. And it's really, they've been indoctrinated into the Western way of thinking. They don't really have an ancient cultural heritage that is like a firewall for them that they fall back to if they're invaded. Like they, like how the Shiites or the Sunnis would operate. If we may have taken over all their capitals and infrastructure, but they're still going to be living culturally the same way they have for 1,000 years. So we don't have that problem over here necessarily, but
not yet.
And the only reason the cartels are allowed to exist is they have access to capital markets. You cut off their banking, you cut off the money, they're done. They're only allowed to exist because governments allow them to exist. Or you cut off the trade routes. And that's what Trump's signaling with blowing the boats up. We're cutting off trade routes.
But do you think
100%.
do you think the reason that they allow them to exist is because of the amount of money they pump into the local economy?
It's not so much the local, it's more the black market, the unaccountable balance sheet. That's where the big boys play, is the stuff that's off the books. And having a black market, having a criminal element operate is very useful for nation states to have covert operations. It's like it creates a whole ecosystem of which you can do all kinds of things and blame other people for problems that happen, So it's very useful for nation states to have an underworld. That's why they're allowed to exist. I mean, this is not anything new. It's been going on for thousands of years. So, like
it's a way to get around the system.
Yeah. Backdoors, blackmail. I mean, the difference between intelligence agencies and criminal organizations are like, it's two sides of the same coin. One's legitimate and the technically manages that, and they have their own internal war where it's like who's managing who. Like, I think we live in a mob state where the mobsters have actually taken over our governance in the Western world, and everyone, because that's how they all behave. They act like everyone has their own fiefdom and their own, realm of influence. Like they're their own mob boss, and don't step on my toes or we're going to have a problem. That's how all these people act like. They act like they're mob bosses, and they have that kind of swagger and that confidence about them where it's like, if, that's why they act so psychotic. It's not necessarily they believe in what they're saying, but they have to act that way. They have to have that confidence game up, or else all their underlings will just panic and be like, oh shit, maybe boss isn't as strong as we thought he was.
Or they take out boss, replace boss with someone else.
But that's also like where the families will come together and be like, okay, we have a major problem. Let's, put our blood feuds aside. It looks like we got this thing called nationalism popping up that destroys our entire economic model of how we've grifted the world. Because if we start building borders around our nation states and securing them, that eliminates the mob state's ability to operate at the scale they currently do internationally, I should say. And I think that's why Xi was elevated into his position, because to root out because corruption, it's not about just getting rid of bad guys. It's about getting rid of inefficiencies within your system. That's really what rooting out corruption's about. It's about getting rid of people that steal and don't produce anything productive. That's why Putin's been elevated, and that's why I think Trump's been elevated by factions within the West that realize this globalization project needs a hedge, and it's gonna fail. But then they'll also switch sides in case it doesn't, you know. But Trump didn't just become president because he a force of will. Has a lot to do with it, but he absolutely has backers. This guy, this donor, was that, you know, paid the checks. That's Timothy Mellon with the Mellon banking family. I think it's Timothy. It's
Pay the
something
checks. What do you mean?
for the military. Paid like $150 million to make payroll.
Oh, I was wondering who did that.
So that's a part of the Mellon family. Which, side note, Chris Mellon is the guy who is running Point and managing Grush and Lou Elizondo, these UFO, UAP experts that all work for intelligence that came out of nowhere, that are having hearings in Congress about interdimensional beings coming in high technology, and but they've made contact, but we can't tell you because that's classified or whatever. You know, it's. And Grush literally admitted that Chris Mellon would get mad at him if he talked to another reporter. So Chris Mellon is running Point. I'm just saying the Mellon family is very deep state, and they just gave Trump $150 million to make payroll for the military, to make sure the military's in their back pocket.
Yeah,
to
that's
make
one
sure the
way to do it.
military isn't gonna break ranks and do something crazy right now. That's really what that's about.
Well, that's
in
the
my
problem
opinion.
with having a professional military too. Is you know, that's what, you know, what is it? Washington always warned about is the professional military.
Yeah. But in the age of gangsters, where all nation states are ruled by gangsters, we don't live in the age of chivalry anymore. Let's just put it that way. You know,
Exactly.
the mark of Queensberry rules are gone. That's like, it's like,
So
we're staking our children's heads on pikes as warnings to each other now, like literally. So
what do you think about all these how Putin put all those Russian anti-aircraft missiles down in Venezuela? Do you think that's gonna
I don't know yet. It's still, I don't know how this is going to play out. I suspect that, remember what I told you guys about that tunnel in Russia and Alaska?
Mm-hmm.
They have a guy over here that's one of Putin's representatives that's making the rounds. He just went on Laura Logan a few days ago. And he's openly talking about it. Openly talking about it. And Putin mentioned it. Trump mentioned it. Someone asked him, he's like, hey, what's this thing about a tunnel to Russia from Alaska? And he's like, oh, really? I've never heard of that. Huh? I have to look into that. Very interesting. Never. Oh, okay. And it's
There you
like,
go.
okay, now we're all talking about a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. This was like a theory that many people have had for like 100 years, that this was the way to end this madness, was to link up the raw resources from Russia to America, make us equal partners on equal footing. We all have moats around us. We got the giant Pacific in a narrow chainway. We don't have problems with migration. It's up in the freaking Arctic, for God's sake, like, you know, basically. And I mean, so we can we have security, but we have enough of a route for trade, which is great, you know, because we both get to make the deals and be secure on either side. So it's like we all have our guns to each other's heads, but we can still do, you know, secure transfers between each other, especially in the form of raw goods. And Russia struggles with they don't have a lot of capital for manufacturing. That's where we come in. We have a lot of capital for manufacturing. And that, what is Trump doing right now? Bringing in a lot of
trillions.
capital.
Trillions.
No, trillions. Trillions.
Let me so rich. Yeah. And it's, which is kind of what you need to do if you're serious about getting us out of this mess. Everyone's like, well, is that the right thing to do? Or is that what the Constitution? It's like, we're in a post-constitutional age and past rule of law phase. I'm at the point where I'm like, this is gangland. I mean, we've never had the rule of law in this country. Like, I don't know where this idea even came. We maybe had it for like maybe a couple dozen years.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's like we're pragmatists at best. When the rule of law is there as a cudgel to keep good people from doing the right thing, then it's time to change the law or get rid of the people enforcing this crap. That's really what the law is there for, is to help protect. But once it stops doing that, then okay, it's the Wild West again, boys. And that's how it's always been. Like, really, it's the veneer of civilization is very thin. Trump and the people around him are gangsters. I like Ice Cube said that. He's like, Trump's a gangster. Like, I'm like, I didn't know what he meant at that time, but now I'm like, okay, he actually is. We needed a mob boss. Sorry. In a world of mob bosses, that's what you need.
And he's top.
Yeah.
The thing I like is, you know, I go back to that my favorite statement in Charlie Wilson's War. If you have sex and intrigue on one hand, you can park a carrier group on the other. We have, was it 3 littoral? We have about, I think they say like 30 ships in the Caribbean right now. We're bringing in the Roosevelt. I mean, not the Roosevelt, the Gerald R. Ford, and all these. We got all this major buildup of forces down there that they haven't seen in 60 years.
Which,
And
by the way, came into port. Just real quick. By the way, that came into port a couple of years ago for maintenance repairs, even though it's brand spanking new.
The Ford?
Yeah,
I
but
know.
it
They've had
puts
a
it
lot
in
of
an ideal, but it puts it in, I know, a lot of problems. They advertised it very loudly. Like, it's
Yeah.
good cover. I'm just saying, like, maybe it's for deployment to the Caribbean or down south quickly when we needed it. Because everyone knows where the aircraft carriers are. So if you're going to redeploy them secretly, you need cover stories every single time. And usually it's maintenance or something bad or something failed or whatever, you know.
But they're not saying it's maintenance. That's the Ford is going down to Roosevelt Roads, which is one of the deep water ports that they could actually get it into. It's still officially a closed base, but there, all this stuff going on there. And
there might be some legitimate problems. There's this whole talk of that whole, you know, their catapult system that they actually went with an electromagnetic system, which.
But what I'm saying is you got all this troop buildup going on. You got, you know, you got was it the 23rd or the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit down there on Trinidad Island. You got the 20 another expeditionary unit sitting in the Roosevelt Roads pier. You got F-22s, you got F-35s, you got Spectre gunships down there. I mean, there's a lot of shit going down there.
B1s.
And all these guys are freaking out because they knocked they took down a building on the White House grounds. They're like, oh my God, he's building a ballroom. And that's all I've heard about on the news for the last 2 days. We got troop buildups coming out our ass, and all these major stuff is down there, and everyone cares about them knocking a wing off of the White House.
It just like, proves the point that the news is propaganda. That's all it is. That's all that proves. It doesn't, like, these are not serious nodes of communication unless you understand they are your enemy and you want to see how your enemy is thinking and what they're doing to wind up the masses. It's why I have kind of a bit of an anxiety problem is I'm walking around. Well, not less so now, but when COVID happened, I realized everyone around me was literally insane. And that scared the hell out of me. Like, cause I'm like, I literally was like, are you awake? Like, what's happening? And it just.
Well, the thing that was crazy about that is how fast all these people started reporting their neighbors for not wearing their mask and while mowing their lawn and all that crap.
It's the most disturbing thing
we are
I've ever
creatures
seen.
of habits.
At scale.
We are easily put into those situations.
Well,
actually, I think we put ourselves into those situations pretty quickly.
Yeah. No, faster. I mean, within the lifespan of a person, you don't even have to propagandize like the parents and soften them up generationally anymore. You can do it You get them from birth. That's what, Goebbels was talking about. Is like, you give me the kids and some music and some, just, and only allow me to program like certain elements and certain archetypes, certain patterns of thinking into a culture, and you own that generation. So, and that's what's happened. So,
Well, it's just so bizarre. It's just they knocked down a wing of the White House that hasn't really been used in a long time. And
well, Roosevelt, no, it's used, but it's an FDR creation, the East Wing.
yeah,
It's actually horrible. I'm actually really, of all the wings to tear down, I was like, oh, it's actually really good. I hate the East Wing. It's disgusting. It's like Office Space. It's just, it wasn't well built. The whole White House is a dump, to be honest with you. It's really embarrassing. Like, and I've been saying that ever since I visited when I went to DC. When I saw it, I'm like, this is a dump. Like, what is this? Like, I know it's
yeah.
a historical site, but we got to like build something a little bit more. Like, come on, we can't live in the 1800s forever. Like, but anyway,
I kind of wonder if they're building a ballroom, right? What else are they building?
Well, there's so
And
much
or what
they
else
tunnels
are
built?
they
around.
tearing out? Yeah,
Yeah,
What are
they've
they
been
putting
having,
underneath it?
and
Yeah,
yeah. No, I'm
there's
sure
been
there'll be
construction
eyeballs.
going on at the White House for 5 years, 10 years. They're
I,
building this mass underground thing go at the White House.
I actually don't necessarily think that's what's happening now, because the systems they already have in place are so extensive under DC. I mean, all that stuff was built out in the Cold War, and it's huge. And I mean, you can do your dirt extraction through like other avenues at this point. You don't need to come up on the site location. But what you would do if you wanted to do a teardown, I don't know. To be honest with you, I really think the primary reason is because the White House is a dump. I mean, it's going to be massive. It's a massive upgrade, it, but it's also like the visual is why they picked up on this, is the excavator tearing down the FDR wing of the bastion of democracy. It's great visuals, and to pump up their midwit boomer Democrats, to get them all like, how dare he? That's our
Yeah,
democracy, tearing it down. And that's all they
the
think
thing,
about.
I cannot believe the amount of geriatrics that are out there protesting all this crap. It
It's
is
really funny.
mind-boggling. Yeah, it's like people with their wheelchairs. I'm gonna stop Trump. I'm out here, peace. It's like
Do you watch
when
MSNBC? Like, do you
no,
no.
watch it? You need to watch it. I highly recommend you go and watch the clips at night sometime. Like, just watch the clips on YouTube. And it's, you're going to be far less confused, but a lot more disturbed. Let's put it that way. You're going to see how scientific they are with their messaging. It's very insidious. And it's just hammer, hammer, hammer. It's just beaten over the head. It's not even that intelligent. It's just brute force propaganda at this point.
yeah,
It's very
And it's working.
Stalinistic. It's crazy. Like, it's gay Stalin is the way I would put it. It's like,
I've never heard that before.
yeah, it's like a gay Stalin is ruling over MSNBC. And
I can only watch MSNBC for about 5 minutes before I just start screaming at the TV. And I have a nice
that's,
TV, and I don't want to put holes through it.
you just got, I know that's what everyone says, but you just got to realize that that is a weapon system being deployed against the population. You need to look at it with the cold stare, 1,000-yard stare that it deserves, and just understand what it is and just see it for yourself. If you need a reminder that you're under attack every single day, go watch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That
Fox
sets a
News
lot of
is
people off
kind
right
of the
there.
same thing, but it's like in the inverse, where the thing
Yep.
with Fox, though, is Trump's doing so much now that they have to cover actual events. Whereas before, it's all like, look how crazy these Democrats are. Don't you just are annoyed that the Democrats are so stupid and they're incompetent and they don't know what they're doing? you know, and it's like,
The thing that I'm tired of hearing about is that, like, the Democrats are feeding right into Trump's trap. And it's like, do you think that's the thing? They think everyone's stupid, even on both sides. Crazy like a fox, you know what I mean? That's the old saying that I heard all the time. Crazy like a fox. There's a reason they're not reopening the government. And it's not because Trump wants, I think it's cool that he's laying off all those damn people. I mean, we don't need the government as big as it is. But at the same time, I don't, yeah, he's using it, but they have a subplot that they're not talking about too.
yeah, no, they're not paid to track the plot. They're paid to build emotionalism on the right. Like,
and they're doing a great job.
They do a great job. They're extremely professional at it. They pick their cast for their news anchors perfectly. They're all very well groomed. They're aesthetically pleasing to some degree. On the MSNBC side, everyone's wearing these dumb glasses that they don't need and got crazy hair, but they culturally exhibit like, oh, we're open-minded, we're free thinkers, we're kind of kooky hippies, like we're the children of kooky hippies. And because that's what Democrat boomers are. They're the children of hippies, and they're not even hippies, but people that culturally wanted to be hippies.
Democrat Gen X, the boomers had the Gen Xers, and they're crazy.
I shouldn't say that they're children of hippies. They're children of rich people, but as kids, they liked the hippies because that was like rebellious. So they're culturally hippies, but economically, they're in the upper middle class.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
I mean, all the poor people I know like Trump. Like all poor people, like Americans anyway. Everyone's like pro-Trump that's poor. So they've recaptured the working class in this, that for sure. Anyway, we're kind of going into
quite a few people
here
about the Trump shutdown and stuff like that, and I can't get a hold on it. Nothing makes sense, and that's what he keeps saying.
What do you?
It's kind of like, huh?
It doesn't make sense to you, or what do you?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Because the Democrats, what they're holding out for, it's like, if they are wanting to get the populace on their side, they might have just hurt themselves even worse.
Maybe, but that's the bet. How much control does the media have over perception at this point? Because government shut down, it's like, well, let's see how much muscle we have to convince people that it's Trump's fault as always. And I guess this is gonna be a good experiment for that, to see how that works. I feel like everyone is responding to everything that Trump and his people around him are doing, and then give it a few weeks and then it's like, oh, it all worked out, or it kind of all went away. These people aren't stupid. Like, I think they're, at this point, I'm not saying trust the plan, but they don't seem to be as idiotic and, not idiotic, as controlled. It wasn't idiocy last time. It was more of, they had way too many foxes in the hen house last time. Because, and this is what you do, like if you're an investor and you're going in to buy a big acquisition, you put some of your people in there first as a probing mission. Give them a few jobs. You don't really know. The other side doesn't know who they are. They just hired them in, and they give you feedback and be like, okay, this is what it looks like at this level. This is what it looks like at that level. Here's that you literally get spy. This is what corporate espionage kind of is. But this is like information gathering. I mean, before you're about to spend like $1 billion, you're going to send a couple $100,000 worth of employees to go in and scope it out.
Oh yeah.
See who's good, see who's not. And it does seem like that is effectively, that's what you do in mergers and acquisitions all the time. That's just standard protocol. Why would the business president not do something like that, or the people around him do something similar? And all they're doing is like, it's just exposing more and more and more people. I'm not saying, even if they weren't planning that is the effect of what is happening. It just is. And I hate to admit it, because I hated the whole QAnon, like, trust the plan people, because I'm like, it's so unsophisticated. It's lazy. You're just saying that you just blindly trust another leader. and you're not trying to think this through
Mhm.
yourself. And it just it still bothers me, and I don't like it. I do think, and it was a psyop. It did take over. But some people aren't capable of thinking past their next paycheck, and that's fair. Like, I get that.
Well, you know, when you're as busy as you and I are, I mean, and Corey, I mean, that's pretty much what you're going for is just making sure everything's paid till the next paycheck. Getting
And
groceries
then
and
when the
everything.
government shuts down, those people that have the same thing as we do, they're like, well, my paycheck just got taken away. Yeah, now I have to figure alternative methods of making up that paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. Working Uber. I think they said some of the air traffic controllers are working Uber and all that other crap.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, because their family is important to them. And they want to make sure that their families are okay and all that kind of stuff, whatever it takes.
But
Right? I would do the same.
yeah, and it's not fair, but yeah, that's a part of what, it doesn't matter about being fair. It's I mean, I forgot who it was. She was the vice chairman, but she flat out said Fox, like, they've covered this, but she said, like, yeah, it's going to cause a lot of pain, but this is our last
Oh,
chance
yeah.
for leverage. Like, they said that out loud. Like, that's like the number 2 under Schumer for budget. It's just openly said that. And it's like, and everyone knows that, but they just outright say it. But no, we're in like a civil war of consciousness in this country, and one side's going to win and one side's going to lose. And I don't see this ending within our lifetimes, unfortunately.
I wish it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Me
Yeah.
too.
But prophecy shows different. That something's going to,
Well, I mean, we could all
something
blow
will
up.
happen.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whore
Well,
on the red
I think
dragon could
that's
come flying out of the sun and eat us all. That could happen. Yeah, for sure.
that's true. There's all kinds of possibilities. Yeah, we all know that it's going to end. God wins, Jesus comes, takes us back to heaven, and we're done. Earth is done, and all that kind of stuff. We know that, but how does it help us today? How does it help us to manage our lives today and our relationship with God and others? That's the hard and tricky part.
Well, the first thing I would say is let's not assume that we're going to get out of this with a rapture or the end of the world. Like, maybe this is going to go on for a long time and we need to strap in for mass psychosis for a very long time. Let's just put it that way. Like, I mean, because this has happened before in the Soviet Union, communist China. If you read about, what came out of those countries during that time, I mean, you get children to turn their family members in and get them killed. And that went on for
Oh yeah,
decades and decades. And there's still vestiges of it. You never really recover from something like that. It doesn't, like, to say we're exempt from something like that happening to us, I think I think that's a hell of a bet to take.
yeah.
And just say, well,
And
it's
we
the end of the
can
world,
lose
because if
on that one.
anyone had the right to think it was the end of the world, it was the Germans and Russians toward the end of their regimes, or when their regimes took over, or the Chinese, that, getting forced abortions, having your family just disappear because they said something and you don't get back, living in coffin apartments, like 20 people stacked on another 100, like for miles and miles and miles, just doing meaningless jobs, giving a bit of a handout, to say that it's
Yeah,
not
we
going to
can
happen to us is
continue.
crazy. And I know you're not
Yeah,
saying
and
that, but
we can continue to have this Matthew 24 wars, rumors of war, mothers or parents against their kids and kids against their parents for a long time. We have no idea because God doesn't want us to know when the end is going to happen. He wants us to be ready and connected, and teach that down the generations. That way, we're always ready and doing what is more right in his eyes than the world's eyes.
I agree with that. My point with all that, to be said in a nutshell, is if
Yeah.
we're not aware and awake of the reality of this, because us telling ourselves, well, God's got this all in control and I agree with all that, and that's true. It doesn't make you more powerful or stronger or have an ability to mitigate the damage that will affect you and your family if we just sit there and say God's going to help us because this is the end of the world or end of time, where it's all in his hands anyway. We need to say that at the end of the day, that yes, of course, but then it's also, what is the technical problem of what is also happening? How does this all work? Like, I don't think ignorance, I just think some people have been trained, and I'm not saying you're a very smart person. And you're clearly
Finally, someone
not
tells me I'm
ignorant. That's
smart.
not my point, but
Me?
you get what I'm getting.
Are you talking to me or?
I hear this all the
Oh.
time from Christians and evangelicals that aren't really initiated into this. And I get, it's like, well, I don't want to be constantly burdened by this and thinking about this all day. And I agree, like there's a point where, thinking about the negativity consumes you and hurts the people around you and it's counterproductive. Absolutely. But I see them just go into pure blissful, like it's almost like they're closer to Buddhist
Ignorance.
monks than Christians. They're like, I just want to be in the ether. It's like, no, I need you down here with us, bro. We're in the mud. So like, yeah, we're up, we're as above, so below, but let's also be right here, let's be right in the middle.
And we see what happens in the Old Testament when the people, whatever is not plugged into what's happening, and they're just doing their own stupid stuff, and everything falls apart again every single time.
We forget our lessons.
Every single time. Now, going into, because we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, of how to get into and make a difference in school systems and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Jason.
Effectively, we are the ones that can make that happen. It seems like a lot of denominations are saying, no, let's just pray about it and just leave it in God's hands and do nothing. Kind of like, let's pray about the third world countries, that God will send someone to them to tell about himself, and we don't have to do anything.
Well,
we can just live our existence.
I like what my dad used to. My dad actually gave a sermon one time in church, and the one thing he always talked about, and I find it true, is he got so tired of Christians praying for, and his symbolism is you pray to God for a pound of meat, hamburger to show up on your table, your dining room table. Hey, I'm hungry. I need a pound of hamburger. And then you just sit there and wait, and nothing happens. And you say, oh, God forsaken me. Instead of going, hey, God gave me the skill. Now I can go get it and go work for it for the pound of hamburger, instead of just sitting around on your thumbs waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's being proactive and the best we can, but it's very frustrating because people, I mean, in my personal life, I know of maybe one other person that's willing to put words to action.
Yeah.
Maybe five. I'll give 5.
They're willing to put foot to ground.
Like what they say, and they're actually willing to execute and do something about it. It's not all just talk. And that's been
that's the hard part.
Yeah. That's been, I don't know how to get over that, because you can only do so much on your own, and you just end up burning yourself out because no one's seeing what you're seeing, so you're kind of just stuck. Or they see what you see, but you can't wake people up that are pretending to be asleep, because I don't think people are that dumb. It's just people don't want to think about it, and so it's just cognitive dissonance sets in, and it's like, let's not ask. And that's what happened in the Soviet Union and Communist China. Don't ask questions. Don't think about it too much.
Just
just live. We just got to survive. It's self-preservation.
Yeah.
And
just like the ancestry before, we can weather the storm and make it on the other side of this until it comes to your doorknob, comes to your door, and then it changes.
How much longer you guys want to go?
Well, I think we've covered all the bases.
I think that was pretty good.
I
you
think
got
so
anything
too.
else? Did
No,
we
I
answer the
talk.
question about Venezuela? I think it's the devil's legions. I think we're cutting off a bunch of the intelligence assets that have been operating out of there. I think that have been subverting the Western Hemisphere. I think it's got something to do with the oil. It's got a lot to do with the drugs, but they're all elements of the same kind of subversion package.
And
That's
money.
and money. Yeah, but yeah, and then we got to figure out what we're going to do with the offshore banking system. Luckily, that's all in the Caribbean too. So,
A lot of it's in Panama. Go figure.
and the Caymans,
A lot of people like going to St. Thomas and putting their money away.
British Virgin Islands. Oh yeah,
I would do the same thing too.
If I had
If I had
money.
multi-millions, billions of dollars, I would figure out how to offload it, make it more safe.
you have to. If you're going to keep it, you have to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Of course, I don't have it. I can only dream of it.
What if we just
as
go?
I'm going out and going for it.
What if I just go open a bank account just so I could feel like an underworld person? Would that make it more realistic?
Colin's like, I'm done with this. Bye. Yeah. And would they accept you to come into their bank with so little money comparatively?
I wonder what it would cost. I mean, let's see.
I don't know. If multimillionaires are the ones, billionaires are the ones that are putting money in there, they probably would expect something around that amount. And anything below that, is it really worth it? Is it really beneficial for them? Because they got to be making money off of that somehow, some way, through their own investments or charging X amount of money to keep their money safe or whatever it is. Yeah, it's kind of hard to really fathom how that works from my perspective because, I don't live in that world.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, neither do I. But we can always dream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I wake up and open up my eyes, reality comes in straight back.
Well, evidently,
Yeah.
according to Google, it only costs $100 to open a bank account in the Cayman Islands.
Nice. Go for it. Take a family trip.
And we're going
And
to we're going to the Caymans. What?
Yeah.
Give me $100. We got to go down there and get an offshore account just to have $100 here.
Yep.
So I can feel like
Just so that we can say, I got an account. I'm up there with the wealthy with my $100.
Oh wait, non-resident people it's $1,000, and depending on the insurance you want on your bank account, it's $50,000.
which bank?
Grand Cayman Island Bank.
Yeah. I mean, so they make it accessible for the public, right? But I mean, first off, Bitcoin is a money laundering operation. Fundamental. That's really where its value comes from, is the ability to wash money overseas. Now you can track it through the blockchain, but if you have cash or asset transfers that take place in the background, it's so easy to use that to get cross-border payments in large quantities very relatively quickly. Yeah. So that's a part of what I think has happened with crypto is that's the new offshore banking system. Instead of, because before you had to go and you got to get your name in a ledger, and now we have the internet and
But
there's methods.
Blockchain.
I thought the blockchain thing was a ledger. Every Bitcoin has your name is on it. You can track who's had that coin all the way back to
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying this was the analog days. Like you needed to literally go to an island somewhere that had sovereignty granted to them by the city of London, and that you use that as a trust, like you set up what you call a trust, and which is a legal entity under British common law that is secure, and you're basically you're putting your security under the auspices of the British Empire or the British mercantilist system. That's what those offshore banking systems were all about. HSBC, remember that scandal?
No.
They basically got exposed
Jinx.
that they were. You need to homework for everyone eventually, and I'm gonna insist. It's a documentary, and it's free, and it's on YouTube, and it's not that long. It's about an hour and change. It's called The Spider's Web, and I'm saying this mostly for anyone that watches this, but The Spider's Web is a must see for geopolitics. I've mentioned it a
Spider's
bunch of
Web?
times, but I highly recommend it. It's probably the number one documentary I would recommend, and it was done on a very cheap budget. And the guys that made it were actually they're like liberals actually, but this is before, like, you know, they're like the Glenn Greenwald type of liberal, you know what I mean? But they did a
Britain
great.
Second Empire.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Got it.
And that's the key to pick Salak on the next levels of understanding this whole system. But the new system, I think crypto is mostly, that's what it is, because they still want avenues for Underworld to operate for back channels, but they still want to watch and see where everything's going, but they may or may not stop you, but they want the option, you know. It also allows you to do asset discovery by allowing the free market of finance and everyone to throw their money around, and you can see where everything's landing, where the payments are being received, where they're being sent out from. You can start building a map of where all the assets of the planet are, and you put AI into the middle of that, and you now have the Internet of Things and total asset discovery. Now, I think they already have that, but this is going to get into, like, there won't be any hiding. I mean, I don't think there is really, especially in America.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, that was fun.
anything else? Yeah, sorry.
No, I think we pretty much nailed it. I think we got to the bottom of it. I just wanted to put out some ideas that I've been reading about and what I've been thinking about for the history of what I've seen. And now all of a sudden we got this buildup there.
Yeah, got to go down that rabbit hole.
I would
Plus
like to do one
others.
on Operation Gladio at some point, but we don't. Maybe take a quick look at it, do a quick grok, you know, just or Google it, whatever. Pick your
What is it called?
Operation Gladio.
Let me see. I'll get that set up.
There's tons of work that's been done on this. It's all over YouTube.
Operation Gladio.
Jay Dyer does a very good expose on it.
See what Grok has to
Because
say.
that's the working model of warfare post World War II, in my opinion. Nation state warfare, like covert warfare. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah. That could be a topic. As long as you have your was it
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, yeah. Collin in his
Sure.
PowerPoint.
I like power.
Make it more colorful.
It helps collect my thoughts for sure.
Yeah.
I like them.
Oh yeah, definitely will.
All right.
And then be able to streamline it so other people can understand.
Okay. Cool.
Although I have to say though, the religious podcasts do better. So
Yeah, it seems that way.
I find that very interesting.
We could do the Gladio one at a later date. That's fine. It doesn't have to be next time, but I do want to hit on that at some point.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe we should make Corey come up with the next topic.
If you can make him.
Trying to get that guy to do anything is just like pulling teeth.
No, you just got to ask the right question.
In the right way.
Well, what you need to do is get your thinking cap on. And all right, man. Well, I think we're going to call that good. So, well, thank you, everybody.
Well, thanks for watching.
We appreciate everyone for watching, and we appreciate you getting this far. If you got that far, tell us in the comments what you would like us to talk about, and we'll go down that rabbit hole. So, all righty.